Welcome to Football with Cheese. My phone keeps buzzing. Don't they know I'm making a video? Don't they know when we're all on the ground, 100 years from now, people will watch these videos and study them and analyze them. They'll want to know what were the strongest and weakest positions in the NFL draft. Obviously. So, if you're watching this and you're the one texting me, this could have implications for the rest of existence. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Okay, I've been looking forward to this video. I was going to do it right after the combine, but I wanted to wait for some more pro days. I want to do a little more research. But we're going to go over what I think are the 5 strongest positions for the draft and then the 3 weakest. I want to do the weakest first, but let's start with the strongest. And I'm going to count down. So, number 5 strongest position is wide receiver. Okay? Some experts out there are going to disagree with me and say it's a weak wide receiver class. It's not a weak class. It's weak compared to the last 3 years. All 3 years, 2022, 2023, and 2024 class were incredible. 2023 especially was so deep. There were so many starting caliber receivers in that draft. So people just assume this is a weaker class. It's not. It's just not as deep. Where it's good is day 2. So there's 3 things I look at if it's a strong or weak class. I look at elite talent at the top, obviously. I look at depth, but I also look at quality on day 2 because that's where you get your starters. Maybe not your playmakers, but your good players, your number 2 receivers. And there's a lot of those in this draft. A lot of day 2 starters. So I move receiver up higher than most people because of that. So there's a ton of receivers that are going to go late second to mid third round. In the 50 to 70 range, that's where you're going to get a lot of receiving talent. I'm just looking at the board now. Just the consensus board, not my board. It's not finished, but Alec Iomaner, Trey Harris, Jack Besh, Jalen Noel, Jalen Royals. You know how much I love Jalen Royals. Xavier Restrepo, Savion Williams. So many good receivers that I think could be your second best option on a good team. So wide receiver is 5. At number 4, we're going to go with tight end. If you watch NFL Network or ESPN, some draft analysts are going to say tight end's one of the best, maybe first or second in this draft as far as position goes. I disagree. It's not one of the best tight end classes ever. It's very good. It's not as good as 2023, although that might be one of the best tight end classes ever. There were so many starting tight ends in that draft. But this draft isn't as deep as that class. I see maybe 8 or 10 tight ends that are worth drafting. That's all. But it's pretty good. The top 4, 5, 6 guys, all to me will be starters. So that is why it's number 4. And I will go over all the tight ends in a separate video. I'll do videos of each position and break down my top 5, maybe top 10. With positions like wide receiver, running back, I'll need to do probably top 10. With something like tight end or quarterback, I'll probably do top 5. So number 3, and this surprises me because going into the season, the college football season, I would have had this position number 1, but 2 positions have jumped it. It's not that the class is worse. This 2 positions just got so much better. And number 3 is running back. It's a very deep running back class. Last year was really weak. There was 1 running back taken in the top 50, and you can argue none should have been. Jonathan Brooks was a little surprised at Carolina because he was coming off an injury. So this class, you're going to find starters in rounds 4 and 5. And they're going to fall. Because there are teams that may draft 1 running back. There's half the teams in the league probably don't have a roster spot for a running back. So if they do draft one, it's going to be 6th or 7th round. So running backs in drafts like this typically fall. I remember, I should have looked up the year before this video. Aaron Jones, now in the Vikings, former Packer, was a 5th round pick. And I remember thinking, how did we get Aaron Jones in the 5th round of that draft? And the reason is it was super deep. And when that happens, they fall. And I wonder if you're team picking in day 3, rounds 4, 5, 6, or 7, if a running back's going to be the best player on your board every round, if that's the case, you can wait till the 5th or 6th round. I'm just looking at these names. It's crazy. The consensus. Okay, I'll just give you a few examples. Round 3 ends around pick 101, right? So they have Byshell Tootin, Virginia Tech, 113. Okay. Devin Neal, 132 from Kansas. Damian Martinez from Miami, 136. That's round 4. All 3 of those guys have shown me on film that they have an opportunity to be a starting running back. They have traits that a lot of starting running backs have. And they are right now 4th round in consensus. And because a lot of teams aren't going to take a running back high, they could fall to the 5th or 6th round. Absolute steals. What a deep running back class. And it's so much stronger in the top 50 as well. Ashton Jeanty is the best running back prospect since probably Saquon Barkley. I'll do a whole video about him, probably multiple videos of how much I love that guy as a prospect. And the top 4 are probably better than anyone in last year's draft at the running back position. So why is running back 3rd? What's going on? And that's because number 2 is edge rusher. Edge rusher wouldn't have probably been in my top 3 going into the college season, maybe 4 or 5. I don't know. I didn't really make a list. I was just thinking running back was number 1. But there's so many good edge rushers in this class. So many speed edge rushers. So many good athletes. Some of them more developmental. Some of them undersized. But I'm looking at this board. There's basically 10 to 12 guys that could go in the top 50. That's insane. That's such a strong position, and everyone needs pass rush. We saw what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. We saw how the Chiefs couldn't block their guys. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl, having an elite offensive line in with pass rush. So edge rushers, I'm seeing consensus board Landon Jackson 44. He's better than that. That's way too low. Braden Swinson, LSU 76. He should be higher than that. If you get Braden Swinson in the 3rd round, if you get Landon Jackson late 2nd round, absolute steals. Ashton Gilletti, my phone keeps buzzing. Ashton Gilletti, Louisville, 107 on the consensus board. Jared Ivey, Ole Miss, 112. Absolute steals if they fall to the 4th round. What a class. And now you got to be thinking, well, what's better? Because running back and edge are so loaded. Interior, defensive line. So my top 2 positions are defensive line. I have never seen a defensive tackle class this deep. It's not elite at the top. And Mason Graham's probably the only one going top 10 from Michigan. He has short arms, he's a little undersized, but he is dominant. And he's the perfect 3 technique, plug and play starter from day 1, super high floor. After that, you're going to have a ton of guys go between, say, pick 11 and pick like 100. There could be 12 guys that go in that range. And some of these guys are going to fall the 4th round that should go maybe top 60 or 70 picks because there's just so many. Here's some examples. CJ West from Indiana. I didn't watch Indiana till late in the year because they made the playoff. They were a surprise team. CJ West was dominant in times. 110 on the consensus board. Aeneas Peebles, Virginia Tech, 138. If he's there in the 3rd round, I'm taking him. He reminds me of Osa Odigozua of the Cowboys, and Milton Williams. He's got a big contract. Undersized defensive tackle. Can't play on rundowns. But so good rushing from the interior. Interior pass rush is more important to me than pass rush off the edge because you force a quarterback to go backwards. If you have pressure in your face, you have to go backwards. If you have pressure on the outside, you could step up or run right or run left. It's harder going backwards. And that's the main reason I have defensive tackle ahead of edge slightly as the best position in the draft. But Aeneas Peebles reminds me of both guys that just both got paid over $20 million a year. So defensive tackle is absolutely loaded. Those are the top 5 strongest positions. Real quick, the weakest positions. Number 3 weakest position, I'm going to say offensive line. It's terrible at the top at offensive tackle, but there's some good developmental tackle prospects or guys from smaller schools. So it's not a horrible offensive tackle class. I think it's a pretty deep guard draft. You can find some starting guards maybe in the mid rounds. And mainly because a lot of tackles have short arms. They can't play tackle. They don't have the length, so they have to move into guard. That's the main reason I think it's deep. It's really bad at center. It's a weak center draft. All right, number 2. This should be obvious. Quarterback. It's a weak quarterback class. The only reason it's not number 1 is because it is deep. And when I say a quarterback class is deep, what that means is there's a lot of good backups. There's only 2 guys right now that I think are for sure going to start in the NFL. That's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. The rest of them, and I will go over the quarterbacks in a later video, the rest of them look like good backups to me, but there's a lot of them. So it is very weak at the top, but in the mid-round, you can find some good backups, and it's important to have a good backup in the NFL these days. Look at the Packers. Jordan Love missed 2 games with a knee injury. They won both games because they have a good backup in Malik Willis. He's not a good starter. He's a below-average starter, but he's a good backup. So you can find a good backup in this draft. And the worst position, and it was bad last year, is safety. It's a terrible safety class. You have Malachi Starks. You have Nick Emenwari. God, I actually got the name right. I think I got it right. They're both first-round locks, I think. Maybe 2 or 3 others that I think should be in the top 100. That's it. And last year was a weak safety class. So these last 2 years, safety position is not getting better in the NFL. All right, so comment down below. What do you think is the weakest and the strongest positions in this NFL draft? Make sure you like the video. Likes help a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. Turn the bell for notifications. Check out these videos if you have not. Share this video with anyone who loves the draft, loves football, so we can grow the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.